In central Lancashire, every day matters. Our project, named All Go for Flow, came following a value stream analysis where we mapped the whole of the discharge process and identified several areas where improvements could be achieved. Our vision is that nobody stays in hospital longer than their acute need lasts, and every patient is supported to leave hospital as soon as the opportunity arises. One of the main ways we aim to achieve this is through the design and implementation of a single discharge planning document. This document is owned and shared by all who come across the patient during their stay. It is currently being trialled on some wards, with the full rollout planned in October. The document is integral to achieving a patient's estimated discharge date, which is now set within the first 24 hours of admission to a ward. It's a single document and it belongs to the patient and contributed to by all that provide care. It will support informed decision making and facilitate appropriate discharge planning so the patient, their family and all the professionals involved in their care understand where we're at in the discharge process. Let's hear about the existing pre-trial discharge process from ward staff.
Chaotic.
It was chaotic?
Yeah.
Why was the discharge process chaotic?
It's a case of nothing's done ahead of time. It's waiting until patients are medically optimised, and then everybody run around like headless chickens trying to get things in process, get things planned. So it just felt like everything was on the last minute.
How did you and some of the staff you worked with end up feeling about that? I would imagine it was
Frantic, yeah.
Yeah.
It was hard work, it was quite stressful.
I take it that can be quite stressful for the patient as well.
Yeah.
What about the family?
The fact families can get quite anxious because obviously they want to know what's going on. Families like to have input with patient discharges, rightly so.
One area wouldn't resemble what was happening in another area. A lot of knee-jerk, last-minute sort of planning.
We can't actually tell patients' families, whereabouts we're up to with the discharge, what time they're going to go home or anything like that. Everything was always like up in the air. It was like a bit like a jigsaw puzzle, really. We couldn't do anything smoothly and straightforward.
Here's how the new model of discharge process looks alongside the single discharge planning document trial. The new process is designed for high reliability. Every patient will have a standardised pathway. We have measures in place throughout this pathway, including the response time from our community services such as intermediate care. Following the decision to admit a patient into hospital, the following happens. A clinically led estimated discharge date will be set. The patient's discharge planner will be started, and the patient and their family will be informed of the discharge planning, including key dates and objectives that need to be met before the discharge can be achieved. This document should always be accessible for the patient and those around them and caring for them. It's updated throughout their treatment by all professionals involved in their care at any point. As we approach the estimated discharge date, the document will identify if formal support will be required to achieve a safe discharge. If it is identified that formal support is required upon discharge, the patient's discharge planner will be sent to the integrated discharge service. Any required assessments will be requested and completed. However, the aim is to discharge to an interim service, for example, Home First or reablement, so further assessments for onward support can take place outside of the hospital setting. At this stage, the patient and their family will be aware of the steps being taken to prepare them for discharge and their planned pathway of support. All patients who are identified as going home should have transport arranged, their possessions gathered and their medication ordered. At this point, the patient's bedboard will be changed to reflect their discharge time. With less than 12 hours before discharge, the final steps will be taken to ensure the patient is discharged when expected. Any medication the patient will need will have been ordered and will now be on the ward. It's now time for discharge, and the estimated discharge date becomes the actual discharge date. The patient should be transferred to the discharge lounge by 8 AM on the day of discharge, freeing up beds for our other patients. Patient transport has already been booked in advance and no unnecessary delays are faced.
Yeah, it's a lot more organised, it's a lot more smoother. Everybody seems to know what they're doing because they're just looking on one document. They're not searching all over the notes and things like that, like sifting through different pieces of paper. So we know what time ideally they're going home, if the medications have been ordered. Everything's just documented in one place So my day's a lot smoother.
Even with the data we've collected so far, the process works. And if the process works and it's replicated day after day and it's proven to work, then it's got to be better for patients, it's got to be better for the families. Anything that improves communication and planning it ticks the boxes for me.
I think it's creating a more structured approach to patient discharge, patient experience. It's more personal to the patient because it creates a story about them. Like I said, you've got beginning, middle and end.
When trialled on our hospital wards, early findings have shown a reduction in the length of stay for patients, earlier in the day discharges from hospital wards, and an improved patient experience. In Central Lancashire, every day matters. This film was brought to you on behalf of Central Lancashire A&E Delivery Board.